Welcome everyone to the EOS Fireside Chat for June 28th. We've got a great show for you today. We got 7 topics, 3 special guests, and we'll be talking about facings and how they're built on EOS with their CEO Rob Rigo. We're going to hear from Eve, CEO and co-founder of the EOS Network Foundation, regarding some of their recent internal activities. We've got some EOS EVM updates, of course, with Math Wallet integration. Pomelo Season 6, we got the last call for donations right now. Then we've got special guest Willow from EOS Nigeria, who's going to be talking about an upcoming event in which he's a panelist. Upland, one of the best GameFi applications in the entire crypto, is introducing cafes, 3D spaces, kind of cool and exciting. We're talking a bit about that. Crypto Miners AMA with Eve coming up, as well, of course, our community open mic and off-topic banter section. So, shout out to everyone who joined us live on Discord. If you can, jump on the mic with me, share your thoughts, comments, questions. We love it. Also, shout out to everyone watching live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Leave your comments out there as well. It's very likely I'm going to hear about them also and can address them live on the show, and so we love it when you participate. Whatever platform you're on, like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things, help us out. We appreciate it. Share some memes, share some emojis. Let's make this show as interesting as possible for everyone. All right, so let's jump right into it. Our featured story today, our featured guest, Rob Rigo from Detroit Ledger Technologies. Welcome back to the Fireside, Rob.
Thanks for having me on, Steph.
You were on the Fireside not too long ago, and I like this trend of having you join us more often. I think you're a great guest. You always have some interesting things to share, and I feel like you share them in a very clear and concise way. So today we want to talk a bit about the recent feature article on the EOS Network blog, within the series hashtag powered by EOS. So I'm going to share the link here for people who may not have seen it yet. And yeah, so I just wanted to maybe get your thoughts on this article and maybe also get some updates from what you and your team are up to these days.
Surely, thanks. So it was awesome to see the ENF publish that case study of us. We've been partnering with them to roll out our collection manager app. They've been funding it through the grant system, so that's been super awesome, and love to be able to build tools on EOS. The article really goes over our general philosophy and what we are aiming to do with Facings, which is the first product that was incubated in Detroit Ledger Technologies and spun out as its own company. So DLT, for those of you who aren't aware, is a block producer on EOS and a number of other Antelope chains. In general, we saw with the explosion of NFTs, there would need to be lots of good tooling to support creators and integrators who want to leverage NFTs in their own applications and products. So this article really goes over our general philosophy and the Facings creator, which is our hosted instance of the collection manager. It is fully open source. We've released a plugin system as well, so others can feel free to start building collection level plugins, which means features that operate on a collection. We're also exploring app level plugins, so you could add functionality to the overall collection manager app, but this is free to fork and develop on and use as a starting point or reference material for anyone in EOS that's building an NFT, specifically atomic assets powered application. So lately we've been working on milestone 2 of the second grant proposal we've had approved. We'll be looking to roll that out to our GitHub. Should be either later this week or early next week. So we'll be submitting milestone 2, which is the data import plugin. What that allows you to do is basically format a CSV file that represents a schema and all of the templates in that schema. So this will create basically a way for those who aren't writing code or don't have a way to currently do so to create bulk templates. So if you have a collection, let's say you created a collection on the testnet and you were making sure all of your NFTs looked right, you'd be able to take the data from those testnet templates and easily port them over to the mainnet and bulk create all the templates without having to do that by hand. So really just an important sort of foundational tool for managing, a large data set, because some NFT collections are rather large on the template side, depending on, if you're doing a PFP NFT, for instance, it may be that there are thousands of unique templates to manage. So the idea here was just to make that easier for that data to sort of be serialized and moved around and re-imported in a different network.
I'm actually personally excited about that feature because it's been a personal pain point of mine for a while now. Sometimes I tag Denis for him to help me batch create these templates for NFTs, but sounds like this feature is going to allow me to create my own spreadsheet and then import that data through the collections manager and then have my NFT templates created automatically from the spreadsheet, which would be really great quality of life improvement for me.
Correct. Yeah, I'm glad that you're going to find some use in this. We'll definitely be talking as soon as that rolls out and getting your feedback on it. It'll also attempt to create a schema. So each CSV file represents a schema named after the CSV file. So the schema is sort of the data model for a template or for a set of templates. And so it will attempt to create the schema if it doesn't exist, and then help you batch create many templates at once. And, in the future, I can envision this being also exportable. So we won't have an export feature at first. This is more of an import feature, but I could see it being very useful to be able to say, I want to export all of the templates under a specific schema, or all of the templates I've selected, perhaps through a multi-select, and just generate the CSV file directly so that it can be easily imported. Let's see. Beyond that, we're also starting to work on milestone 3 of our grant, which is an airdrop plugin. Basically for doing distributions of NFTs based on, various things like everyone who has a specific template ID, or everyone who doesn't have a specific template ID but hold at least one asset in a collection. Similar to the Bounty Block tool, although ours won't be as feature rich at first and will also be fully open source.
Yeah, that's great. I'm excited for that. The Bounty Block tool is not currently working. The public Atomic Asset API is no longer available, so that's impacting a couple of our NFT tools, impacting Bounty Block as well. And so I know you guys are working on your own solution there. Yeah, actually, I'm going to talk a bit about the Pop bot and the Pop token distribution a bit later on after this segment. But before we get to that, Rob, I wanted to maybe just highlight a couple things here in the article that I thought was interesting. At one point, it says that leveraging the Antelope protocol, Facings has facilitated over $425,000 in NFT sales. Always very cool to see those numbers across 12 trial collections, including play and earn games developed with founding company DLT. Do you want to maybe share a couple of example of projects that you guys have worked on the Antelope protocol?
Yeah, surely. So our trial collections we actually launched on the Wax mainnet, starting in May of 2021 with Dark Pinup by Lars Kami-Nizuspot. He also has done a number of art pieces, comics, and such for EOS, funded through Pomelo. So one of his main sorts of areas of work is photography, diegetic photography, which means using natural light. And we were able to take his pieces from his 20 years of being a photographer and help him transform those into NFT packs. So that's really one of our most popular releases. We've done a number of other art collectibles as well of varying popularities. We did one called NF Trippy that was educating about psychedelics, actually in partnership with some folks over at EOS Dublin. We have also done Pin Master and NFT Draft, referring to those play and earn games. Though that partnership's no longer, but we did launch their initial sets of templates. One of my favorites that we launched is actually called The Strange and Unusual. It's kind of a curio, museum style collection of curiosities from an oddities parlor in Philadelphia, I believe, or not Philadelphia, but somewhere in Pennsylvania. So that shop's called The Strange and Unusual. I felt like those were some of our highest quality NFTs from an art perspective. That is also pretty low key. And one of the coolest parts of that is we had Douglas Bradley of Hellraiser fame do narrations over some of the rarities. So there's a narration rarity you can find in the packs. And if you click into the media, he'll narrate the card and explain what it is. And I thought that was really cool to have someone that prominent contribute to one of our NFT collections. We stopped doing the trial launches. Those are more kind of one-off partnerships, so we could double down and focus more on the self-service product. But it was very valuable because each launch we did, we were able to learn and test a new assumption, whether it was a new feature that we were aiming to integrate with the NFTs, such as crafting or redemptions, or our credit card system, so we could actually make it easier for people to make purchases. We're able to gather a lot of data through those sales. Recently, we did finally close all of the sales and burn all of the excess material. So that basically allowed everyone who purchased the NFTs to have the assurance that what they have is, at a specific rarity, there aren't going to be any more sold. And so the supply is fixed for all of those trial collections.
Yeah, very cool. On our side, on the .gems team, we've done also some similar work like this, and I definitely saw a lot of the collections you guys launched on Wax. I always thought it was very high quality collections. The Dark Pinup one specifically, especially like that one, got a bunch of those myself. Good to hear wide range of projects you've done, and happy to hear that you guys are now focusing on these open source NFT tools that are going to help EOS Network as well as other Antelope networks. Was there anything else you wanted to share with us today, or if there's any questions from the crowd, feel free to share them with us.
See, I had something at the top of my mind, but I'm having, on the whole bit about there not being an atomic asset API publicly available, we did spin one up over the last week, so I sent that over to you, so you're able to at least get your harvest page working again. And if anyone else has an app that's broken currently, because they don't have an EOS Atomic API, feel free to message me directly and we'll get you set up for now. It may be that if there's too much traffic, we'll have to eventually lock it up again. But for now, I just want to make sure none of the app experiences are broken.
Very, very nice of you. Very nice of you to share that with the community and share that with us as well. On that topic, currently, like I said last week, our distribution tool for NFTs, the ones that I use for pop tokens, is currently down. So I don't currently have a distribution method, but we are working on something. We're actually going to integrate that in the pop bot that we run on Discord. And so anyone hosting community events that has pop tokens to allocate to their members could simply message that bot in the channel and then give the bot the list of names that earn their pop tokens, and then the bot would send that out. So over the next couple of weeks, that should be ready to go. And then we'll be able to get everyone's pop tokens that they're owed over the last couple of weeks, and also make it easier and faster for all of the EOS community event hosts that are distributing pop tokens to distribute those NFTs to their community. And then, of course, the NFT monthly pop token monthly raffle is going on next week. You can blend your tickets directly within Atomic Hub by transferring 4 pop tokens to the blend.gems account with the memo community NFT : and then the template ID of the ticket, which I don't know by heart. Perhaps we'll get our blend page working again with the API from EOS Detroit here. We'll see. If you have any problems with that, just message me and I'll help you out. So that's the quick NFT update on my side. Thanks, Rob Rigo, for joining us today, and looking forward to working with you on that drop tool, and excited to try it out when that's ready.
Thanks for having me on. And lastly, if anyone is working on NFT powered project and wants to discuss their approach, or just is looking for perhaps advice or feedback, do feel free to reach out. I'm happy to make myself available and advise and help out. Thank you.
There you go. What's the Twitter account they can reach out to?
You can hit me at, I'll put it in the chat here, my personal handle. You can also hit me on Telegram or Discord here. So I'm putting those all in the chat here.
So that's on Twitter, Rob Rigo with a 0 at the end instead of an O. And
yep, correct.
And then with the O on Telegram and Discord. Oh, you got your name on the Discord as a Discord handle. Well done, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I was happy about that.
Recently when they unlocked the new names?
Yeah. I just saw they wanted me to do that, and I tried it and it worked, and I was glad no one came to my name.
Yeah, definitely. I was not high enough on the list to get anything near my name. All right, well, thanks again, Rob, for joining us on the Fireside. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And
thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll talk to you again soon, I'm sure. All right, let's play a bit of music, and then we'll move on to our next topic. All right, and we're back on the EOS Fireside Chat. Next up, another special guest today, although he's a regular special guest on the show, Yves from the ENF. Welcome back to the Fireside. You missed last week's show. I understand there was a lot going on for you guys at the ENF last week. So maybe you want to speak a bit about what happened, and maybe anything else that you've been up to lately.
Sure. Thanks for having me on. So obviously last week was a very difficult week internally at the ENF. We had to make a strategic decision whereby we let go of a large amount of people within the ENF. These were all people that we did not want to let go. This was not driven by performance or anything like that. It was purely a financial strategic decision that we needed to take in light of the realities that we find ourselves in fiscally within the ecosystem. So obviously the ENF manages its finances very conservatively. We have no choice. We're bound by certain guidelines as a non-for-profit and such. And we're in crypto, so we know of volatility being part of day-to-day reality within the blockchain ecosystems, and so we manage accordingly. But despite all of that, with the latest two shocks in a row that came about due to the SEC actions, enforcement by regulation in the United States, which don't impact EOS directly, but clearly impacted EOS indirectly as the majority of the market. We needed to take a very serious look at what we were spending and how we were spending, and we made the decision internally. And that decision was communicated last Wednesday evening for those who are in the Eastern time zone, if not Thursday morning for those in the East as in Asia. And so, yes, it was a very, very difficult time last week. Those impacted were all very valuable members of our community. Some of them came from the community, and that's how we discovered them. Everybody had the same thing in common. They all woke up in the morning and they tried to make EOS better. And so this is not a reflection on what they're doing or their performance. It was an unfortunate reality that we needed to take into account from a financial perspective. And so we let go of 20 amazing people. And now it's a question with the team that does remain of readjusting those priorities, looking at where we still believe there's a potential positive impact, high ROI type of thing. As we mentioned in that message as well, we did not touch anything externally. That was a concrete decision that we made. And so the initiatives that are being funded externally, but through the ENF, but that are being funded, that are more, let's say, community, getting the funds in the hands of the community, those have not been impacted at all. This was all internal, and that's pretty much it. And now with the people that remain, and to the people on this call, in a way, it's even more incumbent upon us now to ensure that we keep fighting the good fight and that we keep pushing this forward in a way, to honor those that aren't able to do so in the fashion that they were before. These were all members of our community. They were part of our community. These are all people that you've gotten to know of in the last year or so. These were people that were working on initiatives that you all benefit from or they're working with. And so it's very, very difficult. But now we need to focus on going forward. And I think EOS is still in an incredibly strong position. Overall, I think we're on the right path. I think the vision and the direction that we're heading in still has tremendous support. And we just keep at it. And obviously, we keep readjusting. That is what we need to do. And so, strategically, I think we're really well positioned still. The market is obviously reeling from those effects as a whole, not just EOS. And everybody is facing those kinds of tough decisions. But essentially, at the end, this is what we need to do, right? This is part of our role and responsibility to make those decisions to position EOS so that it is successful, so that when the market rebounds in the future as a whole, that EOS is one of those projects that for the first time in what would be 3 cycles benefits from that inevitable bull. And so that still remains our job. We're still steadfast in there. I still strongly believe that EOS is on the right path, and we'll keep at it.
All right, thanks for sharing, Yves. And Thanks for making the hard decisions that need to be made. I don't know if there's any comments from the community or any questions from anyone. I'm gonna play a bit of music if you want to think about it for a quick moment, and then Eve, I don't know if you had other updates about things that's going on that you wanted to share. I'm enjoying the new profile picture.
No, I invite
by the way.
everybody, I think, to go read the BP debrief. We shared a lot of information in there, a few things upcoming. So, for example, right now I would have been in Japan. We canceled that. Had nothing to do with what went on last week, but we canceled that. We also announced that we will not be going to Token 2049, and so we did announce that last week. That is in light of the recent token price action. And so we are looking at obviously a discretionary spend and where we spend the dollars and where we see potential ROI for the network. And so we've had to make other decisions there as well. So that's something else we mentioned. But outside of that, I don't think there's really anything else to bring up at this stage in terms of updates, unless you have something specific that you're referring to, or you ask, or anybody if you've got any particular questions.
No, it was just opening the door there if you wanted to walk in it some way, somehow. The BP recap we did cover last week on the Fireside. I agree. It contained a lot of very interesting information. I highlighted some of the segments that I thought were particularly interested. But yeah, if you haven't done that yet, definitely check out that article. I'll share the link in just a bit. Yeah, if no one else has any questions from the community, I guess that'll be it. Thank you, Eve, for joining us today.
Great. I'm still gonna, as every week, I'm still gonna be here. So if there's anything later, we'll go from that.
Perfect. And yeah, nice new avatar AI profile pic. I like
that. The shout out goes to Brandon, and so there should be a watermark on there to say copyright Brandon. He's the one who did this. From what I understand, he took pictures of me and put it in in an AI tool, worked his magic, and the big beard samurai in the form that you see it was born. But all the credit goes to him.
Yeah, very cool. Good job.
It is pretty amazing. I think it looks amazing. I think it's awesome. I personally love it. I think it's really cool.
I mean, I've always had awkward profile pics all my life, in my opinion. I think I'm terrible in front of the camera. So I'm looking forward to forgetting about that era and moving forward with my new AI profile pic eventually.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how that was generated. If it's a question of, like, I don't know which inputs you put in there, Brendan. Even just down to the style of the picture, I think is really cool. Overall, this is amazing. And I've been trying to think of what we can do with it. If there's a way to, like, I was thinking, is there a way to turn this into a contest of some sort where, I don't know, somebody actually draws this out, a painting, and then it gets signed by you, Brendan, and we auction it off? Or I don't know. Maybe there's something to do there. I just think this is awesome. This is really great. I love it. Kudos to you.
I think it's funny how you changed the profile picture last week, and then when I saw you on our call yesterday, you had gotten a fresh haircut to look just like the picture even more.
So, no, I've been cutting my hair forever. It just happened to be that it was the time to cut my hair, but yes.
I don't know if I'm audible right now. Am I audible?
Yes, you are now. Sorry. Yes.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Midjourney. So they released another version. It just keeps getting better and better. And then there's this like setting that lets you, I can't remember. It's Niji. So it's like the animation filter. And and then they added the zoom out, which is great because normally, which Patrick just mentioned, because normally it was really hard to say where you wanted the subject in the scene. So now they can extrapolate based on, and they would tend to like put you front and center, and then there'd be no like head space or side to side to speak of unless it was like 16:9. And so, yeah, now you can click zoom out after you upscale, and then it'll kind of like interpolate and figure out more of the background around you. But yeah, I've been like kind of playing around with this for a while, and it's improved dramatically from the earlier iterations. But one of my favorite things to do is to just pick favorite film directors. So I'm trying to remember who this was. I might have to look at the file because it's all the prompt is all recorded in the file. But yeah, I'll share the prompt if you guys want. You can just see it.
How much?
Yeah, that'd be
Brandon?
awesome.
How much do you charge for this service?
Prompt writing? Yeah, I don't know.
I sent you a request for free.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to be working. So how much do I gotta pay?
Like Tony says in the chat, it looks like there's at least 5 different suit coats. Yes, the layers are pretty crazy. The background is pretty cool. I have a 4-year-old son, and now my 4-year-old son is asking when I'm getting my ears pierced, because apparently that character has earrings. So I might need to get my ears pierced at 40 years old or 41 years old. My hair is not as gray, but yes, my son did say, could you put your hair like that? So now I need to, now Brendan, my son is asking for me to become this character.
Yeah, sorry. You have to now.
Influence of AI already taking over our lives. That's kind of crazy,
life. Art imitates life, imitates art, right?
Right? We're going in a loop here.
Yeah.
So do me next, Brendan. Looking forward to it.
All right. You can just shower me with praise. That's fine. I don't need any payment. We'll figure out a way to like turn this sort of fun. Yeah. Oh my God. That the designer job thing that Zach just shared cracks me up every time I see it. That's hands. But yeah, it'd be nice. I mean, I can just teach people how to use Midjourney. It's pretty fun. And not too difficult. It takes a few iterations sometimes, and like the
Is that
better
open access? Can anyone get in there, or do you have to pay?
You got to pay. I mean, there's a free tier, but you got to wait a long time between image generation and stuff after you kind of max out your usage. So I've just been paying for it because I've been playing around with it quite a lot here and there. It's kind of like, sometime in the evening people play video games. I just mess around with AI generation and stuff like that.
Sounds like a side hustle. I'll pay good EOS for such a picture.
All right,
sure.
Let's see what happens. See here. I'm trying to find the prompt still.
Do we go back to talking EOS, or are we straight into the off-topic banter for the rest of the show?
We have some other topics, don't we?
We do have some other topics. Not too many of them, so that's why I don't mind this impromptu off-topic banter. Okay, so EVM.
We could do a little soft shill of the AMA tomorrow with the crypto miners while on the topic of Eve.
Yes, let's do it. I have that upcoming later on in the show, but while Eve is here, why not? Here's the tweet. Sharing it in the chat. What does it say out here?
So it's essentially kind of just like an external community. They reached out to us requesting someone from EOS to come speak to their community. They've got 200,000 followers on Twitter. If you go through their last couple Twitter spaces, they usually get a couple thousand people tuning in. They have guests from big chains and small. So like they have had Cardano recently, Polygon, and also some smaller ones. But more of these opportunities kind of have been presenting themselves. At one point, we were not doing them as much or not saying yes necessarily, but now the kind of directive is we will say yes to more of these, because what we really need to do is get our messaging, get our talking points out into the wider community, continue doing that, or not the wider community, but external to the EOS community. So I encourage everyone to tune in, but you're most likely not going to hear anything new. We had feedback after the most recent Binance AMA, for example. People didn't like some of the things you've talked about because they're from the EOS community, so there's nothing new. But that's really, you're not the target audience necessarily. encourage you to join anyway. But the real target audience is the folk who don't pay attention to EOS, maybe haven't heard of it in years or if ever, and that's really the target demographic that this is focusing on, and hopefully we'll be doing a lot more of them in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, just the tweet got a lot of engagement, 800 likes, 700 retweets. I guess there's a contest going there. But great to hear that they're reaching out to you guys. That's very nice. And I'm sure once they use the new AI profile pic for Eve, you guys will get even more requests for Eve.
That's funny too, because
You just a couple weeks ago, he just had new headshots taken, and I think that we're probably not even going to be using them very frequently because the AI generated ones are so much better.
Game over, photographers.
Yeah, I used some of those to generate it. But actually some of his older, worse photos seem to produce better results. So it's kind of interesting. But
Well, I'm glad you got use out of the new one.
mhm.
I think they're good. I think they're. I can't remember where they've been used. I've definitely given them to a couple people to make their posters from. I just can't recall if it was a conference or another upcoming thing.
Right on, right on. Okay. A bit of music and another topic.
I was going to say also, like, don't expect if you use Midjourney, like, it's not super straightforward. Like, it took me dozens of iterations to get that, playing around with different things. And you know, sometimes it just doesn't look like the person. It's like, it kind of looks like the person, but it's uncanny valley territory. You know, where you're like, oh, yeah, I could do Pomelo.
Yeah, I think
AI generator.
you deserve definitely create a Pomelo brand. Yeah.
I will
yeah,
pay you to walk down on Cali Valley for me, Brendan.
I'm like, that's not quite stuff. That looks like AI stuff. Okay, that's maybe real stuff. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Real enough stuff. Yeah, we're gonna go with the
Anytime we watch Westworld.
I'm gonna go with the cosmic MC DJ vibe for you, I think.
I like that a lot. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I need to give you some pics with some headphones.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to some EOS EVM updates. Actually, just one update this week. Math Wallet now supports EOS EVM. So Math Wallet, pretty big wallet out there. Almost 1 million followers on Twitter. Just another example of these wider crypto ecosystem players that would not integrate EOS before because of so much friction. Now they can through the EVM, and they are doing it. So very cool to see. I'm going to continue to share these little updates with everyone as I see them. All right, our next topic, Pomelo Season 6 is wrapping up. Last call for donations. Get out there right now if you haven't done your final sweep of donations. Maybe there's some projects you haven't seen yet that qualified late in the season. Maybe you want to boost some of your favorite projects. Of course, we've seen a lot of donations coming in today, as we always do on the last day of donations. And if you're wondering which projects you should support, there's the collections feature, of course, that highlights various collection of grants from various community members. Eve actually tweeted out earlier this week some of his favorite projects for this season. I'll share that link here with everyone for those who want to check them out. A lot of EVM and GameFi projects, of course. And I'm going to share a bit of stats with everyone where we're sitting right now. For me, the number of unique contributors, of course, this is pre-analysis, pre-Cybele analysis, is very interesting to me, and the value raised. So for the EOS EVM pool, we're at just under $6,000 of value raised across 206 contributors. EOS GameFi pool has about $2,500 raised across 212 contributors. Telos has about 2,000 raised across 124 contributors. And then the Everything EOS pool, which is the largest pool of the season, has about over 15,000 raised across 350 unique contributors. So interesting range of number of contributors per pool, and how that's going to impact the distributions. Of course, right now the distributions that you see on the Pomelo website are estimates. Those will change after the Cybele analysis, but as expected, in my opinion, the EOS GameFi pool and the EOS EVM pool are going to see those grants, the popular grants on those pools, receive a good amount of funding. So for example, I'm looking at the EVM pool right now. If we're sorting by estimated match, we see we've got 6 grants getting 4,000, between 4,000 and the cap, which is around 13,000. So those are good amounts of funding for these teams to work over the next quarter. And perhaps if these pools return next seasons, which I personally have no idea if the pools are returning or how much money or which pools, etc. But good to see that these projects in EOS EVM and GameFi, some of them are getting some good amount of funding. Of course, in the Everything EOS pool, it's much more competitive, a lot more grants, a lot more donations, and less money to be distributed. The donation amounts are a bit smaller there. The top grants are getting around $3,000, $2,000 for the top grants in that section. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out next season, depending, of course, on how the pools are structured and how the matching partners donate their money, to see how these numbers will readjust. I imagine we'll see more interest in the EOS EVM and EOS GameFi pools if they were to stay the same, as word gets out that there's good opportunities for those types of projects on Pomelo, and perhaps some of the more general Everything EOS projects. We'll see how many end up returning, I guess. All right. What else do we have going on for Pomelo? All right. So like I said, last call for donations. You've got a couple more hours, maybe about 12 hours, if my guess is right. Although it should say on the pool. Donations close June 29, 1200 UTC. So exactly, just over 12 hours, maybe. Just under 12 hours, maybe. So if you're listening to this on the replay, but the same day, get out there, donate. If you're on the Fireside right now and you haven't done your final sweep, get out there and donate to your favorite projects. So what next? Once donations close, then we're entering the analysis period. This is where the team analyzes for Cybele attacks. As we mentioned in the past, we seem to notice fewer Cybele attacks season over season. Our methods for detecting, of course, we're always working on them. Our incentives for reducing the baseline incentives for attacks has also been modified over season. So it seems like all of these factors are really helping protect the Pomelo community. So we encourage you guys right now to use the report button on a grant that you think is doing suspicious activity. We encourage you to submit your evidence if you have any. And this season, we've actually doubled the incentives that we're going to pay people for evidence leading to action. So if you send us evidence that leads to some sort of action on a grant, then you will earn some monetary reward for doing so. The other thing that's important to do right now is pump your trust bonus if you haven't done so. That's another element of the Cybele defense mechanism for the Pomelo platform, is that if you're a real user and you prove it by connecting a phone number, a Google account, a Facebook account, et cetera, then it increases the chances that you're a real unique person. And then we're going to boost the impact of your donations compared to other users. So that's another important part of the cyber defense for Pomelo. So that's kind of what's going on now. And then we'll be, of course, publishing a season retrospective article, giving people a chance to review some of the new rules, actions taken, etc., that the Pomelo team is going to take over the next couple of weeks. All right, so I hope you guys had successful Pomelo seasons, and I see a lot of you are sharing your Pomelo grants in the chat today. I encourage you guys to do that. That's fine. Yeah, thanks to everyone that's contributed to grants from a lot of community members that are in the chat with us today.
Stefan,
Patrick,
I just want to jump in on this topic now of Pomelo.
Sure, but no self-promotion, okay?
Yeah, I will be very short and concise. I publish here into the chat a grant that was not approved. And I think I address here to the Pomelo team. I think this grant should be definitively approved. There was yesterday an action required on this grant. So
okay, at this point, it's too late to approve grants in this season. So I don't think it's very valuable for us to have that conversation here and now. But I definitely encourage you to share your thoughts in the Telegram.
We have made.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a good place for this discussion. That grants topic is where we want the community to have back and forth about the structures, the rules. Hey, why was this grant not approved? Why was this grant approved? How can I modify my grant to get approved next season? All these types of discussions are very valuable for the community, and we love it when you guys have those discussions in public. And we like responding as well in public, because then everyone can learn about why certain grants get approved, why others don't. And then so for next season, hopefully this grant can be modified in a way that qualifies for one of the various pools.
It was approved on season 5, by the way.
Okay, thanks, by the way.
That's exactly the same grant, and Rosemary had joined, and every week she has made the work, contrarily to other people that are doing nothing, and they have their Pomelo grant that is approved. So she has very worked a lot. So we have made our case there.
I appreciate your comments, Patrick.
I stop here. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you to let me at least raise that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
I think this is the proper forum to discuss the structure of Pomelo with regard to the pools, and I'll even go as far as to say the actual application process itself. I think this is the forum.
Sure, but I would push back on discussing specific grants, in this forum.
Okay.
But in general, yeah.
In general, I think the experiment of pools, I don't think that's a productive thing. I think what we're doing is we're dividing the community, and we're discouraging contributions that span multiple topics or areas. So we're essentially dividing the community, and I think that's the opposite direction we're going. And I think the application process itself creates moral hazard for those that are making those subjective decisions. So I would encourage the Pomelo group to consider a different structure where they can somehow achieve their goals without both of those things, without pools and without a subjective application process. That's my comment.
I agreeing. And by the way, Stefan, I agree with you. I don't want to go against the topics here, but I think when we touch a topic, at least we can just raise the point. So thank you for that. And I think we should raise those things. Otherwise, we are becoming a group of sheep and not of lions. The market is so down currently. All is going so down. That's not the time to put some, let's say, competition between the grants. That's the time to put a lot of collaboration. That's what we want to do. So that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. I don't mind when people bring up new topics. Going against the topics or the way you phrased it. I don't think that's accurate. I'm not sure that's what you meant exactly, but I'm very happy when people bring up new topics. And if it's the time to have a discussion about Pomelo pools, etc., I think I agree. It's a great place and time to have it. I just not about specific grants. But yeah, I love it when you guys share your thoughts, questions, and comments for sure. I don't know if there's anyone else from the Pomelo team here right now that wants to address Perry's comments. I'm happy to share my opinion, which I've shared previously on the topic. Regarding the pools, I think it's a great way to direct funding to areas that the network needs more than others, right? So and there's a lot of content production right now going on in the EOS community. I do a lot of that myself. The Hot Sauce grant, was better funded in previous seasons when there was more funding available to these types of content grants. But I definitely understand the pivot for the network to want to focus on EOS EVM and on EOS GameFi. So personally, I think it's fine that these projects that are building on EVM and building GameFi, which is the focus that the network wants to go towards, that they get an outsized portion of the matching pool. And so I think different pools allows us to do that. Also think that the community will get better over time at, playing the Pomelo game, if you want, now that there's new pools involved. So the way you built a grant when there was just one pool for everything, it's probably not the same way you should be building grants when there's potentially 3 pools your grant can qualify for. And so that was one piece of feedback I gave to a grant owner was like, why don't you modify your grant and also apply for the GameFi and also apply for the EVM? Because there's definitely ways to frame the grant that would qualify for those, but not just one grant qualifying for all 3. So there needs to be kind of differentiation for different pools. There needs to be different, key objective results and deliverables for different pools. But one person doing one project could technically qualify for more than one grant. And I think we're going to see more of that in the future seasons as people get more familiar with the new rules and structure and processes in place. Another comment, I guess, I can address from Patrick saying that, hey, a grant was previously accepted in season 5 and now is not accepted in season 6. And that's very possible and is a function of the fact that the rules are changing and the team is tweaking the rules a bit every season to try to make the platform as good as possible for the community. And we definitely want the community's feedback. We publish a survey every week, every season, publish a retrospective. Of course, we bring it up on the fireside very often as well. And so we appreciate it when Perry jumps on, shares his thoughts, when Patrick jumps on as well. You could share them by emailing support@pomelo.io as well if you want to do that more privately. And so we welcome all forms of feedback, of course.
To be honest, I think the Pomelo team needs some feedback of other groups that are involved not just every 3 months, but that are involved every week. Because you can judge the people when they are doing the job week after week. So I am even thinking myself why I have been accepted on Pomelo Season 6, by the way.
I'll just jump in really quick instead of trying to type all this out. But I was just thinking about the pools, the game theory there, and like there's there's an angle of well, when you put up money, can you earmark the money for different things? It'd be kind of like equivalent to having multiple pomelos, essentially. Like if Telos wants to say, like, we want development on Telos, where here's a Telos pool, we don't necessarily want that money going to non-Telos projects. So I kind of see that. And then I also see Andrew's point about it kind of helping defeat the Pareto tendency. But I also hear Aaron Cox's point about the community steering the direction and not the sponsors, the matching pools. So then I'm wondering, is there like some hybrid model where community has influence over the composition of the pools or what the pools are? But I don't know how to reconcile that with the sort of like moral hazard of directing other people's money, unless the idea is that once you give the money away, it's like a no strings attached. You're just trusting in the community to direct it as they see fit. But it's like multiple communities. So I don't know how, like, is it like the Telos community and the Wax community and the EOS community ultimately like having control over certain amounts of funds that they can say? I don't really understand like how you balance all those different things. It's a lot going on there.
Yeah, I just noticed there's been some nice comments here in the chat. I'm not going to reread them. Brendan, you kind of recapped them nicely there. Drew from the Pomelo team, did say that, this is all valuable input and they're trying to find solutions that don't require complete reworking on the back end to address some of these concerns. So definitely a valuable forum to bring these up. Anyone else has some thoughts or comments? Yeah, now's the time. Let's hear it.
I just want to say that I am very grateful for all the donation that I have had on my grant. It's about 57 contribution, so that's a lot for a grant.
You're straddling that line of self-promotion, Patrick. You're an expert at it. Congratulations.
That's not about.
No, of course it's not. No, of course not, Patrick. Of course not.
Yeah, but it seems to be that you are dictating a little bit the direction of the Pomelo, and that's where I am a little bit concerned sometimes, because I see other grants that deserve to be really more donated or more considered.
Right, and that's your opinion, and
that's my opinion for sure. That's my opinion.
I don't think I'm directing Pomelo at all. Actually, I'm not part of.
No, when I say you, it's not you, Stefan. I know that you are playing poker. You are not playing Pomelo, so.
I mean, I try to keep it fair on the shows that I host, so this is not a mad scramble for people jumping on the mic to do self-promotion.
Yeah, sure. Never mind.
I was thinking about this last night because I made all my Pomelo donations last night. And speaking of poker, it's kind of like that last to act advantage. When you're furthest away from the button or whatever they call that.
Yep.
And you get to see, well, like in some sense, there's tremendous bias because other people are like, well, they donated to this project, so I'm going to donate to that project. But it's also like there's just way more information available. And I mean, if everyone does this, it won't work, right? Because then everyone will wait till the last second and no one will have any information, and that'll suck. But so kudos to those people that get out there early and donate. But for us laggards, it's really interesting to see the collections feature is really cool too. I was noticing like some people have picked projects and featured them in the collection, and that's really handy. Like, it's a way of delegating, kind of like, oh, I trust this person has like done some good research, and I thought that was really helpful. I was definitely scanning what other people gave to that I know in the community, and that is one feature request actually that I have. Is like, it'd be really cool. I don't think there's a way to just search for a person. You can search for grants, but in order to find people, you have to just find them where they've contributed and then click on their profile. Then you can see their grant, but it'd be kind of interesting to just look up, like Drew Block and see who he gave
I guess
to.
you need
or
to know the username
yeah,
to look it up, and then it's /user /Lovejoy in this example, or like you say, you find their icon under a grant that they've contributed to, click on their profile, and then you can see. Chris Barnes asked who's in charge of the Pomelo team. Pomelo is an ENF funded initiative, so I would say ENF is in charge of the Pomelo, if you want to think of it that way. DJ Strikanova brings up an interesting point. What if number of contributors wasn't revealed on the site, so people have to evaluate the grant independent of social pressure? Which comes back to what you were saying, Drew, which I think is super interesting, right? Do you donate early with limited information, but more impact in terms of you're pumping up grants early that others may use as a signal to donate to? Or do you wait to have more information to see how the community has voted so far to either identify great grants that you want to support as well, or identify grants that you think are really good that haven't had as much support, and then you can kind of target them with your donation dollars to, increase the impact of the matching pool that you have on the matching pool towards certain grants. So it's definitely, like you say, you need some of both. If everyone waited to the last minute, then that wouldn't work. I try to do a round early, a bunch of singles everywhere, give those +1 contributors stats to those grants that I want to support, and then usually do another round later on where I'm donating bigger amounts to certain grants that I really want to support. So that's been my strategy.
Good strategy of Stefan.
DJ, but there's also upside, like DJ Strikanova says, to not showing that those numbers and then allowing people to evaluate independently. But ultimately, personally, I think there's more upside in having that wisdom of the crowd information being available on the Pomelo site for others to leverage and piggyback on. So in the end, I think being an early donor is pretty important and can kind of shape some of the.
He is confused now with your answer.
Yeah, it was kind of a confusing answer, to be honest. Yeah, so Drew is if I'm not mistaken, Andrew is the Pomelo project,
the best mustache
owner, right? And then
correct.
Pomelo's kind of its own. I mean, it receives the grant funding from
the ENF,
from ENF through the ENF from the community, but
yes,
yeah, I don't know like how decisions are made within Pomelo. I think that was more like the question.
Yeah, sure.
Certainly not the ENF. To my knowledge.
Yeah, sorry if I didn't maybe understand exactly the question. Just gonna leave it there. I didn't understand the question, so don't take too much stock into what I said.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Andrew.
There he is. There he is, the man.
Cool. So yeah, just it's easier to do this than to type. So the question at hand is sort of who's sort of like making the decisions. So I'm the product owner, meaning I help direct the sort of priorities. Daniel is CEO, and so oftentimes I will be communicating with Daniel to see what is achievable. We also have a whole team, so I might want to do something. Like, for example, what I would really like to do is be able to have you just like select all of the matching pools that you want your grant to be in. However, our backend is not set up for that, so it would probably take us a couple seasons to do that. I would still like to deliver some improvements to Pomelo by the next season. So what I'm really thinking about is what is the best way to mitigate these issues that you guys are talking about with multi-pool? Because at the end of the day, multi-pool, in sort of my evaluation of it, is something that would be that could result in tremendous is sort of the opposite of what you guys are talking about. So tremendous working together. That instead of there being like a sort of antagonistic sort of like competition thing, is more cooperative. This input is super valuable because it allows me to see, oh, what are specifically the problems? And we can address those specific problems. And Chris, you're asking about who is funding it. So originally, development of Pomelo was funded by ENF and was basically accomplished by EOS Asia and EOS Nation. Currently, the way that we get our funding is through our matching partners. So we take a percentage of what the matching partners are providing for their pool. Given that, essentially who's paying for us? Our matching partners are paying for us. So in this case, that is the ENF and the Talos Works. I think so. Because our matching partners, they're the ones who are essentially providing the funds that everybody's talking about, as well as the fact that they are providing whatever funds that we will use for development. There is 20% taken off, but we don't use that at all. That doesn't go to the Pomelo team for donators. So in that case, our matching partners are the ones who are really paying the bill, if you will. Based on that, we need to make sure that we're delivering for our matching partners in order for those matching partners to want to join next season. And also for us to be able to attract other matching partners so that we can start cultivating this really a powerful cooperative community. I think hopefully that addressed it. Sorry,
I think that was a good answer, but much clearer than whatever I rambled on about.
Okay, cool. Any other question?
Brandon making a nice comment at the end.
Yes, I appreciate that, Brennan.
I really do. I don't know. It's not just the microphone. It's like
This Lovejoy is amazing.
Honestly,
that was a great
What I've
explanation.
noticed is that when I'm feeling sick, it seems like my voice is lower, so it does actually
Don't change.
end up sounding good.
Don't change, but get better.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely doing my best.
Okay, I think the answers were clear. Thank you, Drew.
So if a change was to occur, who would make that? Who would be responsible for making that change? In other words, if we were to change the pools, structure their pools, or eliminate them, who would be responsible for making that decision?
Myself, in combination with the CEO as well as all of the developers. So as I mentioned before, there was a specific thing that I wanted to do, but when we went to talk to the developers with it, they were like, "Oh, that is crazy complicated and will require months and months of back-end work." And so that doesn't seem very deliverable for the next the next season.
I guess another stakeholder to add to that list would be the matching partners.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
And
if there's rules changes or feature requests or changes, of course, the matching partners are one of the stakeholders that are.
yeah,
I appreciate the developers would have feedback, but I don't think they're the decision makers.
well, they're not the decision makers, but their feedback goes significantly into what I decide. Oh, this is what we can do this season. I'm like, I want to do this season. They're like, we can't do that in one season. Okay. So we need to find a solution that addresses the problems that people have without requiring a ton of work that would take multiple seasons. So the same issue would be persisting for next season.
Okay, let's step back for a moment and look at and examine the moment before they were actually created. The developers wouldn't have given you any negative feedback on that.
Ultimately, it's the Pomelo CEO, I guess, is who
Okay.
you're looking for here, who has the final decision power, but that decision needs to, be discussed with a lot of stakeholders.
So it's an important affect, I think, of the pools, in that it is dividing us, and I think that really needs to be taken into consideration. This is not something that's actually creating consensus.
I agree, and that's something that I'm really trying to prioritize for next season. And I think a big aspect of that is there's a lot of confusion around the multiple matching pools. And part of that is because I don't think that the UI communicated very well what those rules were. So that's one of the priorities for next season, is making it crystal clear for all of the grants what it is that a given matching pool is looking for. Some of them tend to be more strict about their definitions of public goods than others. Some of them seem to be more focused on specific things or specific blockchains or specific kind of topics. And it seems to me one of the big frustrations was just that sending back and forth into action required, which I understood was probably super frustrating for grant owners. And
That's exactly right, Drew. I mean, there isn't any objective criteria that people can use.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like we're at the Department of Motor Vehicles or some government agency, which we obviously have no influence or insight.
That's pretty harsh. That's what centralization.
So
that's what centralization is.
So do you have any thoughts on what I just mentioned as our next priority? That's essentially I'm trying to solve the same issue that you've identified. I think that there's enough benefits of multiple matching pools that I don't want to go to no multiple matching pools. Seems like something that our matching partners were stoked about. But I think,
and I don't personally feel that it has divided the community. Maybe you feel that way, Perry. But personally, my experience of it doesn't feel like it has divided the community. Although I understand how some people may feel that way. A good point to make about these improvements around matching pools and communication and understanding that DJ Strikonova brought up is that it would be great to have more of a heads up on what the pools are, a longer time before the season starts. So hopefully that's the case for next season.
Without the matching,
I would suggest that a more valuable division would be, instead of dividing us into different pools, divide us into actual tangible work product. Now you notice in my particular grant, in my project, I actually produced the thing. And if we browse through all the different grants, there's a lot of grants that are just kind of like, I'm going to just do this, and this is what I want to do, and right. So if we're looking for actual, if the goal is actual production, that would be a distinction I think that would be more valuable, and that's being completely ignored. Why?
I would not say it's been completely ignored. We look into projects to see, are they actually delivering? If it's a brand new project, should we expect that they've already delivered something? If they're saying, I've got this great idea for something that could be cool for the community, I mean, as I look at it, the vision of Pomelo is to partly give those people an opportunity to create the thing that they really want to create. And so the fact that they have not delivered anything yet, if it's a brand new grant, I can understand that. And so there is just that question of where's the line? And I don't think I should be putting that line there. I think people should be putting that line there. And so what I'm interested in is bringing other people into so that the community can be the one making these decisions. I don't think the Pomelo team should be making these decisions.
And then why are we making the pool decision?
Because I mean, we'd love to have a DAO. It's a lot of effort, and we're still season after season trying to deliver. So, I mean, basically, I agree with you, but we've got limited developer time, and we've got a limited amount of stuff that we can accomplish in a given season. So, I'm trying to prioritize things such that they deliver for you guys as grant owners, as donors, and then also deliver for the matching partners. So there's sort of a balancing act to be had in terms of what's top priority, what can we accomplish, and that sort of thing.
Eliminating the pools would probably
No.
give you more time. It would free up a lot of developer hours.
Yeah, I mean that's a weird. Yeah, like the argument against pools or for pools or how pools should be composed is kind of the crux of it. Personally, as a thought experiment, I was just thinking like, and I don't know exactly where I fall on the spectrum of different ways to compose pools. Like Aaron Cox in the comments is suggesting maybe they should just be limited to chains. Like there could be a Telos pool, but maybe when it gets into like more specific earmarks for this or that, we should not go there. I don't know personally, like say I was a millionaire, say like in the next bull market, I have just money I want to throw into the community. Should I be able to say, I think this community needs more content and just like amazing art? And should I be able to be like, I'm the donor, I'm putting up $1 million. I just wanted to go to art and content as a pool, as a matching partner. Should I be able to dictate that, or should I have to relinquish some control over my own money that I'm like giving, that I want to go to a certain thing? Like that's, I think the question is like, where does the donor get to say like what the money is going for? And will donors be less inclined to give if they can't stipulate like priorities,
There's another side here as well, which is that for some smaller pools, I'm saying if there was a pool of like, I don't know, $5,000 for an ultra specific use case, you're much likelier to get a larger portion of that pot if you're willing to target that use case as somebody applying for a grant, versus if it was in a larger pool. So take for example the content creation. If there was a pool of $10,000 for content creation, it's very likely that people who were to go and apply directly for that pool would make more than they normally would if they were applying to a larger pool, which was about everything. So there's also that benefit where once you get to the ultra specific stuff, you have the ability to fund or better fund people within that ultra specific category.
And take the extreme example of that. You've essentially eliminated the decentralization aspect of it. It's the same as just making it a donation directly to that person's account. And so what Pamela has done is just kind of move that bar over, move down the spectrum from decentralization to centralization. And I
That's
think
not true. There's nothing preventing from other people from taking from also. Yeah, it's not true.
It's actually more decentralized because now you're getting more projects with multiple pools. It's actually more.
So if somebody said, I want a pool, if one of the funders said, I want a pool that does exactly what DNews does, that's not a centralization?
No, of course not, because then 5 people would say, hey, I'm going to go do this, and that's the epitome of decentralization.
So I want to address the comment here by Aaron, where he says that why instead of setting up $1 million pool for art, don't you just donate your $1 million to the art grants that apply to the pool? And to me, I think we'll get a lot more quality art grant submissions if there's $1 million pool up front than people signing up for their art grant for an Everything EOS pool, and then unexpectedly having a whale come in and donate to all the art grants. So I think being able to create your pool seeded with $1 million for art on EOS, you're going to generate a lot of new teams entering the ecosystem, chasing that money. And if you already know which grants you want to donate to, then yeah, you don't need to use Pomelo. Just go out, find the teams, donate directly to those grants. But if you want to donate to a specific theme and you don't know which teams are there, or you want to incentivize new teams to come in, that's when you create a $1 million art pool to get that going.
So, yeah, I think to restate it, then like pools essentially are providing development priority. They're saying this money is for this priority or this body of action. And the question is, who should be in control of the development priority? That's like where people are really, should it be the provider of the capital or the community? I mean, or both, or some combination thereof, because it can't really, it's hard to untangle those two things, you know, like, and again, like, do you disincentivize large donors? If I come in and I want to fund art, but I know that the community is going to take it and put it all into engineering, and I think engineering is stupid, then like, am I less inclined to donate my $1 million because I know they're not going to use it for what I would hope to see
Absolutely.
it go for? So,
yeah, they don't believe in decentralization of this process.
but it's again, like, just be careful with that word, because like it's not binary, right? There's not like total, complete, ultimate decentralization and then pure centralization. There's a spectrum at work here.
That's my point.
And so pools don't negate the presence of decentralization on some point of the spectrum. They do modify it for sure. They concentrate power in a different part of the system, but not like absolute power. It's just the power of that particular. And I'm totally open to being persuaded otherwise. Like I've had the same questions. I'm just really trying to look at it from all sides.
I think we're saying the same thing, Brandon. It sounds like we're saying the same thing.
Sounds.
Aaron asked, why wouldn't the millionaire, I think, Steph, you kind of addressed this, but I want to just jump off of it. Why wouldn't the millionaire just do a granting body? And like, I'll use the arts example too, because my background's in the arts, and I agree with Brandon that we need more funds for the arts. But a granting body is a very centralized way to distribute funds. That's one of the benefits of quadratic funding as a granting body, is it's a distribution mechanism, a way to more democratically distribute funds in the most mathematically optimal way. So if a benefactor wants to come along and fund arts, they might say, well, I want to do this in a way that is very mathematically democratic to the arts community. So I'm going to do it through a quadratic funding round. And like, that is the difference between doing it with like a closed off granting body versus saying, no, I want to use the quadratic funding distribution mechanism.
And
For sure.
that's made since day one that Pomelo want to create Pomelo matching pools. Making the interview with Daniel Keys, he was unveiling that was since day one they want to do this. They are waiting to do that step by step. Now
I appreciate the floor being open and the Pomelo team, your ears open. So that's productive, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
Yeah.
I was just writing in the chat, I can imagine like a hybrid approach that might satisfy both sides, which is like, say a millionaire shows up and wants to donate, and the community says, that's fine. You can earmark a portion of your donation, but not all of it. Some part of your donation is going to be directed by the community to one pool or another that serves like the interests as set by the community. So you could have like, you know, say the pool funder, the matching partner could direct like 80% or 50%, and the community gets to direct the other 50%. I don't know. That's one.
Here's a tax on your money so that you can give your money away.
Yeah, no, thank you. We need to incentivize these donors, and as much as possible for them to want to participate.
The clear option here is that you just offer it as an option to the person who's donating, or the
right.
funder of these initiatives, right? If they choose that they want the community to just set up whatever kind of pools they want, that's up to them. If they want, let's say, I don't know, Xbox comes in tomorrow to Pomelo, and they obviously won't want that. They want to incentivize people to build on Xbox, just like they would in a hackathon. That should also be their option, or their Xbox is just going to go and find a different way to do it and not use Pomelo, which I think is not a benefit to the ecosystem.
Yeah, that's exact. I mean, I think that's kind of how Gitcoin works with their matching rounds. Like they have multiple different matching rounds, and they have a Web3 round, and it's not a requirement that donors, donate to the Web3 round, but it's recommended because it, contributes to growing the commons. So I think, yeah, that's a better approach to it. And I also disagree that creating separate pools for various communities divides people. If anything, creating separate pools for communities to congregate around, the community that is Pomelo creates more cross collaboration. That's exactly kind of one of the strengths to Gitcoin and the Ethereum community. And they don't just have 4 matching partners per season. Like they have many matching partners that have worked with them over the past 2 years at least. So yeah, I think there's a lot we can learn from the way that's set up, and that is matching partners with an optional Web3, free for all, as long as it's a public good. And on the public goods note too, that's the other sort of important thing for us to remember. This doesn't divide us because we're building public goods at the end of the day. Like we're building things that people can take and implement within other aspects of the ecosystem. If Telos wants to prioritize public goods built on Telos, that's great because they want to prioritize people using Telos as a resource. But that doesn't mean that people within the EOS community can't take those resources because they've embedded as public goods and also deploy them on the EOS community. If someone wants to build a gamify, NFT aspect, doesn't mean that somebody who's an artist who wants to, utilize that same piece of NFT infrastructure can't also do the same thing, right? So just a little bit of a slight tangent. But.
Wow.
What about people or projects that create things that benefit all of the pools?
Apply to 3 of the pools.
Yeah, and to be more specific, and this is something that, again, we're trying to address with our grant sort of description area, is that each pool is sort of consists of a group of people from a community, and you want to highlight specifically for that community what it is that your grant is delivering. So, I do all sorts of stuff that maybe you could potentially consider beneficial to the EOS community. I tell my friends about EOS, for example. But if I don't highlight that, and I'm just asking for a grant for me to walk around and talk to people, it's a little bit of a forced metaphor, but the point being, if my job as someone who's evaluating grants is to decide if a given grant is focused on a given community, that grant needs to describe how it benefits that community. And if it doesn't, that's where I would put it in action required. This results in some confusion because I think I agree with Liam that I don't think it necessarily divides the community. However, I think you bring up a good point, which is that the implementation may have caused that, while the intention may not have been that. I also wanted to add something. This is something that Pomelo has really been looking at as one of our strategic advantages, and that is essentially the same thing the ENF has been doing, where the ENF uses Pomelo to vet projects to see, have you, this thing you promised, did you actually deliver it? Okay, great. Now you can apply to the direct grant framework. And ENF has it as a prerequisite for the direct grant framework that you should have a Pomelo Pomelo grant. Ideally, what we want to do is provide deal flow for grant owners by allowing them to sort of go from just receiving funds from Pomelo, stepping up to actually applying to different sort of more focused grants, or sorry, more focused initiatives in order to get more significant funding. And one of the benefits of having multiple matching partners is that means instead of only having the ENF direct grant framework to go to, all of a sudden you have all these other means for sort of taking the next step, if you will.
Yeah, and it's not just the ENF. Like Kevin Owocki, right, the co-founder of Gitcoin, now he works with the Super Modular Regen VC. Like recently wrote a really long Twitter tweet. It's not even a tweet; it's like an essay. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of Twitter's upgrade to let long posts, but he called out even Pomelo in it and talked about how you can use the data and how VCs can use the data within quadratic funding rounds to spot unicorn projects, because communities rallying around a project is a good metric to sort of signal market interest, right, in a specific product. So yeah, it's just to go off that even more, it's not just the ENF, right? It's like there's other entities too, I assume, that are looking at the data from these rounds. Probably more so in the Gitcoin community, but it was cool to see that we got a bit of a shout out there, and that other entities are also taking notice that way.
Okay, that was fun.
Okay, that was fun. Patrick is giving us our blessing to move on to the next topic.
Yeah, I think it's 10 minutes already.
But first, you mind if I share something here? This is Dancing Joy.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay.
Sorry for the delay. I was needing to respond, but then somebody knocked on my door just as I was about to respond. But if it's okay, then I'd like to share a few thoughts on this topic.
Ask Stefan. I am not the host, so I don't know.
We'll allow it.
Yes,
we'll allow
Stefan, do you mind? Or okay.
Yes, of course.
Sounds
of course
good.
you can jump
Thank
in there.
you.
No problem. No problem.
Okay, great. Thanks, Stefan. And thanks everybody for the discussion so far. I really appreciate everybody being so dedicated and thoughtful about how to foster public goods. That is super important. I also love, I think that was Liam talking about Kevin Owocki and Gitcoin, who he's one of my heroes. He's an amazing dude, as well as many people here. So thanks all for that. And sorry I was a bit late. It's been a crazy busy day with, we held an Eden Fractal Pomelo pitch session earlier today, and internet issues, all sorts of stuff. So I'll listen back to the beginning of the discussion. I joined about 15 minutes ago. I saw Patrick mentioned Rosemarie's grant that wasn't approved, and so thank you, Patrick, for mentioning that. I'm looking forward to listening to that. To me, it seems like it's very beneficial for EOS for sure. She's an amazing new community member who the EOS community should support. She did an interview with me for her interview show Community Stories a couple months ago, and then she did a new one with Douglas Butner Goodisol, who is an awesome developer building with EOS, hosting the Aquadac, which is awesome, helping EOS in the world in so many different ways, but I'll go listen to that. But just thanks for that discussion. A couple comments too. I do have a fair amount of notes here, so feel free to jump in if you think I'm going too much. But I'll try to keep it very concise and to the point. I was just writing notes. So I do think the idea of pools is excellent. I participated in the Gitcoin grants program for the first time last month, and I learned a lot about how Gitcoin is doing it, and their whole tech stack is really interesting. I participated in the Meta Crisis Gitcoin grant, and it's really cool. And I think it's awesome too that EOS has done this with GameFi and with Telos, and also with everything EOS and EVM. It's a great way for people to promote things in different ways. Like I think GameFi and games is really important, for example. So it's great to get people's mindsets and thinking about that, because it can be a great way to focus conversation and develop a common narrative. I do think that so at some point I mentioned that I agreed with Perry's point. Perry had mentioned that it felt kind of like the DMV, which rung quite true to me. Because I think that there are quite a few problems currently, and I appreciate Andrew Ware and the team being communicative here. I know Perry had mentioned that he was appreciative of this conversation. I do think that's really important. But like behind the scenes, other than this conversation here and the ones we had on the previous Fireside Chat, the governance and communication of it were, I think, quite lacking, and it made it less fun overall. So I don't like giving negative reviews really, but I'll just share a bit of my experience here. And also I think Nathan James made a great point too, that it should be clear who's making the decision, and there should be an option for the donor to allow communities to direct funding if they want to do that, or if the donors want to choose who it is that they want to receive the funding or exactly what criteria, then just more communication is better really. It's great to offer both options. In this case, I mentioned my confusion about Rosemary's Grant. I also had a lot of confusion too. I went on the Fireside Chat last week, and I thought about this a lot over the past week or two. Anybody who listened to the Fireside Chat last week, and then we had a conversation about 5 or 10 minutes about the Eden Creators Grant, which wasn't approved because the Pomelo team didn't think that it qualified as a form of GameFi or a game. And well, to me, I was in like disbelief about that, and my experience it seems like a very opaque and non-transparent process with seemingly arbitrary rules that were kind of just made up along the way. I went back and forth with Andrew Ware a few times, and I really appreciate Andrew Ware, and I really appreciate I greatly respect the people on the Pomelo team, but it seemed like it was just like completely arbitrary rules. I made an analogy about like choosing what kind of game. They're like, that's not a game, that's a governance tool, and it's like the Pomelo team is saying checkers is a game, but chess isn't a game because it has round piece or something like that. And just in general, like the whole Pomelo experience, I've greatly appreciated the funding that I've raised and the opportunity to pitches. I've written articles about it and I love it. But there's a lot of tedious writing. Like every season I've done it, I'm doing so much volunteering for EOS and for Pomelo, and creating such helpful tools in games and communities. And every season, I don't know if there's been an exception. I know the 2 grants for Town Hall and Fractal Apple were approved right away, so I appreciate that. But many times I have to go back, and it's really quite tedious and time consuming. And I appreciate the process of refining, but there's just those rules, and I don't know where it's coming from. There's not really much communication about it. And then the team also didn't seem very receptive to changing their mind when I provided lots of ample information. I kind of feel like maybe the team didn't read anything that I wrote. For example, going back to what we discussed last week, games is, I'm all about helping people cooperate with social games, and games is the first thing that's mentioned on the...
Let's not rehash this topic. Unless...
Okay, I won't go into it too much, Stefan, but I'll just, if you allow me to continue, I just want to just close it off maybe. There were 5 people, and I do think it's really important that there were 5 people, thanks to Lisa and Perry and Rosemary and Dwayne, who were supporting it. Some people saying it's the best game they've played, and I feel like it shows kind of how the Pomelo judging team is kind of out of touch with the community, because so many people are supporting his games. But then Daniel Keys, and I'm a huge fan of Daniel Keys, but he just said, it's not a game, sorry. And that's to me, I'm a musician, I'm creating these games, and I'm working on this tirelessly. I have an article at EdenCreators.com/games. It's like making a song for somebody, all your friends, and that's not music.
Okay, I understand your point. I think it comes down to, like you've said, clearer definitions on behalf of the matching partners and the pools, so that these definitions are very clear, so that it's less vague and that there's less room for different interpretations from people, which is something that Andrew,
for sure,
high on the priority list for next season.
Great, thank you. And there's one other thing about it too. So it's not just about clear definitions, but it also is about who's deciding it too. Who is making it? I mean, this has come up several times, and Andrew had said that he'd like to have more say from the community deciding and so forth. And so one solution that I'll offer is the games that we've been building at Eden Fractal. We're building condensed games. The Eden Fractal is designed with Fractally in mind, which is designed for public goods and communities making decisions and cooperating for mutual aid. But the EOS network has largely ignored it. I mean, that might be an overstatement, because I really appreciate all the opportunity you've given me to speak about it, Stefan, on the Fireside Chat, and many other people on the call. And obviously, it's been covered here and there, but it hasn't received any funding from the network other than just from Pomelo. It's been mostly a volunteer effort, and we have the solutions. We have the tools that can help make those decisions. For example, the new singles game could empower EOS community members or community members of a GameFi community like that to make that decision in a more transparent and democratic and fun way in so many ways. So I'll offer that I think we have the solution, or at least a solution that can be super helpful for helping the Pomelo team allocate funding for public goods much more effectively and efficiently in the future, and also provide a better experience for everybody in the community who have grants or want to support grants or also funding partners. I think it could be a great opportunity for Pomelo to attract more funding partners and just make it way more fun, way more exciting for everybody. And so I'd be happy to discuss with you about that, about how we can work together to improve and help fund more public goods for everybody. And thank you, Stefan, and thank you, everybody. Hope you have a great day.
Great, thanks, Dan, for these comments and for sharing your ideas and your thoughts on what you think is going to make Pomelo great. We love it. Maybe we don't agree all the time, but definitely it's clear that you're very passionate and you're working for what you believe in. So,
is there something specific that you disagree with? How these condensed games can help?
I mean, I disagree that those are games in the sense of that we want to include in the GameFi pool, in my opinion. Gamification is not...
Okay, sure. So separate the games, though. But if we just say like governance process or whatever, like, do you disagree that can help Pomelo?
I'm not 100% familiar with what exactly you're suggesting, but it is probably a lot more complicated to implement than you imagine, would be my guess.
I'd be happy to discuss with you, but like, it could work quite well.
Let's take it offline, or let's take it to the grants channel on Telegram, and yeah, let's leave it there for today. But thanks everyone for the great Pomelo discussion. I thought this was going to be a short show. I was like, oh, we don't have that many long topics. Wrong. An hour plus, I think, on Pomelo is going to get us to the 2-hour mark. Okay. So next up, we've got another special guest. Let's see, is Willow still patiently with us? Yes, Willow, I see him in the crowd. Great. Thank you for your patience, Willow. So at this point, I'd like to invite Wilfred Patrick, aka Willow, community manager, content developer, the founder of Understanding Digital Assets, coordinator for the EOS Nigeria team, and a proud member of the EOS Bees, regular attendee on the Fireside Chat, longtime EOS community member. Welcome, Willow, to the Fireside Chat.
Thank you very much, Stefan. I hope I'm coming in very clear.
Yes, you are coming in clear. All right, thanks for joining us. So I understand you're going to be a panelist on an upcoming event in Nigeria, and I'd love to learn more about this event.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. And I really want to appreciate a member of the community for, staying up till this time, to listen to me, to talk. So we have an event in Nigeria, and it is an event that is going to feature key opinion leaders in Nigeria. So we'll be promoting so many projects out there. And the host for this event will be Into the Block. For those of us that don't know anyway, Into the Block is this platform that you can go in there to check for blockchain analytics, or to learn about blockchain analytics, crypto analytics, and NFTs, whatever. You can visit their blockchain to know more about what they do. So in this aspect, we will be, thank you, Lovejoy. We'll be featuring EOS as a whole, not just EOS Nigeria. And we are hoping to storm the building with everyone getting to know about the new EOS. And we have speakers from different blockchain communities. Most of them are founders. I mean, we have basically industry leaders. So we are not just there to talk about EOS, but to also connect as well, because in the future we will have the need for what we call EOS Nigeria events or meetup, and it is going to be one of the biggest meetups in Nigeria. And as we are planning towards that, hopefully before the year runs out, we will have that meetup to talk extensively about EOS. This event, we might not really dwell like into EOS. We will just probably just, brief them about the new EOS, what we are building, and everything that's going on in EOS. So when we, get to have our own meetup, EOS Nigeria meetup, we will go in depth of the new EOS, the innovations, and all of that. So that is that about the event, and I want to give a shout out to my brothers here present. I can see so many Nigerians on this call here. I think it's their first time anyway. So I thank you all for joining the call today. And we have a Pomelo grant on Pomelo. If you wish to donate to our grant, I just posted a link on the chat. Please feel free to donate to our grant. Yeah, so we hope to take EOS to Nigerians and let them know about the new EOS. So thank you very much, Stefan, for giving me this floor.
All right. Thank you, Willow, and thank you for representing EOS at this conference. So just to be clear, this conference is not an EOS-specific conference. It's a general crypto
conference.
No, it's not. But
No, it's not.
Exactly. It is not just EOS, but you've been invited, and we're happy to have someone representing EOS there. So that's great.
Yeah, sure. We hope to feature in this kind of events more. I mean, Nigeria, in a month, I'm sure we have at least a blockchain event to talk about. The things going on in the space, the blockchain space, crypto space, the market generally. So I hope to stand in for EOS in this aspect and promote EOS blockchain in Nigeria.
That's great. I love to hear that there's still people carrying the EOS torch in Nigeria. We at EOS Nation when we had our ambassador program, 4 years ago, we had a strong crowd out there in Nigeria. Shout out to Sam Sticks, Toju, Kaka, and all the other guys from those communities that were flying the EOS flag. So great to hear that that's still going on in Nigeria. And good luck on your panel. And just to be clear, everyone, I did tell Willow it's okay for him to promote his grant as one of our special guests today on the fireside. So that was all legit on his part. So if you want to support Willow, you want to support EOS Nigeria, check out the EOS Nigeria grant on Pomelo.
Yeah, and Willow is a fantastic bee also. So shout out for that.
Thank you.
I know you, Willow. You are a great one. I support you. I think everyone has to go on his grant and give 5 EOS if you are poor. And if you are rich, give a good 10 EOS because he do a fantastic job.
All right, thanks.
I have a new Nation ambassador at the base layer. You know that. Okay, so.
It's true.
It's true, yeah.
Yes. All right, great. Thanks, Willow, for joining us on the fireside. And join us again in a couple of weeks after the event to let us know how it went.
Thank you very much, Stefan, for having me. Thank you, EOS community.
Oh, Nigeria.
All right, couple quick hitter topics here to round out the show. We're going to round out to 2 hours. If you're using Anchor and if you've been encountering some bugs in the last couple of days, there's an update for Anchor wallet that you can download and then get rid of that bug. So a little announcement there on behalf of Anchor. Another piece of news that I thought was pretty cool is Upland, of course, favorite GameFi app on EOS. Upland is introducing cafes, basically the first 3D space now available in the Upland metaverse. Right now, these cafes can only be used to host viewing and watching parties, I think, about people playing Upland, but eventually people will apply to have their own cafe, design their interior on their own. And to me, this is really making the metaverse come to life. When people talk about alien worlds being a metaverse, and sure, I understand the definition, but to me, a metaverse needs to be a 3D space I can walk around with an avatar that I could put a hat on. And so seems like this is the start of that for Upland. And of course, it's got a lot of potential there. So just another cool update from the people over at Upland. And then finally, last quick hitter topic here. Oh, we mentioned it already. Crypto miners AMA with Eve coming up next week. But we already covered that. And so, yeah, that covers the topic
next week, tomorrow
on my list. At this point, open mic. If you guys want to go throwback to Pomelo again or off topic, talk about other things, now's the time to do it. Share in the chat, jump on the stage, whatever it is. Let's do
Stefan, you say next week, crypto miner. It's tomorrow, no?
It's tomorrow. You're right.
Thank you.
For me, the week ends when the fire.
Yeah, I know.
Ends. That's the end of my week. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
That's the end of the week. So that's why I thought it was that next week.
Yeah.
But thank you for that precision, Patrick.
Yeah, I know. I am very precise. I am in Switzerland.
precise,
You know.
very precise.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, by the way, you are in holidays. That's what you want to tell us.
Next week, holiday, yes, Canada Day.
Voila.
Going to the cottage if the pollution levels are not too high.
Ah, nice.
But it's announcing storms.
So
it's gonna be pretty cramped with my brother and sister and everyone else.
Okay.
The cottage, the camping out in the lawn.
So I wish you a good holiday in all case.
Thank you.
I got
hey everyone.
Oops, communication is not good.
Real quick shout
Go
out.
ahead, DJ Strikanova.
Yes, DJ Strikanova, Effect DAO, and Effect Network's having a space tomorrow. Ocean Protocol talking about AI datasets. If anyone's interested.
Yeah, I will join. But my heart is confused because I have to join DJ Strikanova on a Twitter space, and I have to join the crypto miner.
Tough decisions in life.
Yeah, but that's not the same time. That's okay. There are two matching pools for that. That's okay.
Nice.
By the way, I love the matching pools. And by the way, in winter,
Let's see some votes in the chat.
Yeah.
1 if you like the matching pools. 0
I love
if
the
you
matching
don't.
pool. 1. Voila. 1. Voila.
Aaron coming in with the 0.
Hey, Ron!
As expected.
You are a liar. You stated that you love the matching pool. No, okay. Maybe I am. No, okay.
6-1.
Yeah.
Final. The decision has been made.
Aaron, vote again, please.
1-0. Lovejoy, very confused.
Aaron.
About pools or the way to vote, or maybe both.
Oh, ENF plus EOS Nation liking the pools. Yeah, absolutely.
We got Willow in there, PPPD, Evgeny coming in with a 0. Evgeny not a fan of the pools. Liam voting with an animated GIF, very fancy.
Martin Breuer of Pinax, 1111111.
Max Joe coming in with some 8s. I don't know what that means, but I like it.
Oh, Mel, 999. Nice. Dawa. Yeah.
What else is going on in the world these days that we want to talk about?
There's something I could share going on the Pomelo conversation. Oh, is that Martin?
Hey, Dan. I don't particularly want to, but go ahead if you want to.
No.
It's open mic.
Okay. I do. I don't know why you don't want to. That could be exciting. But also, I thought I heard Martin say hello. Is that correct? Or somebody said hello. So if they wanted to speak, then feel free, I suppose.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Very well.
Yes.
Who's this?
Okay. My name is Mfonabong George, all the way from Nigeria, Africa. Shout out to my brother Willow. He's representing the EOS blockchain very well in Nigeria. So I wanted to give everyone an insight on my project on Pomelo Grant, and that's the EOS Memes project. It is actually a project that I hope to enlighten the world more about the EOS blockchain using memes. I've already created an account on Twitter. So I'm planning to target the crypto Twitter community on Twitter. As most of you know, we have tons of millions of crypto investors on the crypto Twitter blockchain, crypto Twitter community on Twitter. So I would like you guys to go check out my grant. It's called the EOS Memes Grant. I'm actually hoping to use the following mediums to promote the EOS token. So I'll be using the giveaway medium, giveaways, bounties, and community contests. And I think I also use the pop token to indict people to get involved in our giveaways and bounties. And I wanted to make inquiries about how I can get support from EOS blog producers. I know some of them might be on here on this fireside chat. I would love to get support from them to be hosting these giveaways, because I'm actually looking at hosting the giveaways every 2 weeks. So each giveaway will last for 2 weeks, where I'll have crypto inclined people on Twitter get to create memes for the EOS community, and I'll make the prize pool to be something mouth-watering, so as to attract the participants on these giveaways.
Great. Okay. Thanks, City Mills, for sharing about your project. This isn't supposed to be a Pomelo pitch session, but I didn't want to cut you off there. But thank you for jumping on the mic and sharing some of the stuff you're working on.
I'm honored. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. And if it's cool enough, then I'll jump in. I'll keep it short too, Stefan. Sounds good?
You can go as long as you want. Technically, the show is over. We're in the freestyle section, so talk to your heart's content, Dan.
All right, sounds good. Well, as you said freestyle, then I'll freestyle rap it, just so we make it fun for everybody. Just joking. But yeah, so we're at Pomelo, and we're going to go to get our grants. Hope it's good. All right, I'm going to work on the freestyle and come back later with it. Hope you all enjoyed my TED Talk rap session. Just kidding. Anyway, thank you. Yes.
I think you could
there we go.
Kept it up a little longer. I don't know.
I could have kept it going. Like, yeah, that's right. I'll come back another time with more of a freestyle. I have been doing freestyle a bit in the past, and once I get the flow going.
Brandon,
but anyway, I'll just jump in.
Next bull market, I'm expecting a $1 million pool for EOS freestyles. Okay.
Oh heck yeah!
Yeah. Ooh. So that sounds awesome, and yeah, actually building on that too. So just a couple of things I wanted to share that were building up the last point. I was a bit surprised you said you didn't want to discuss it, Stefan, because I think it's really cool and really helpful, and I hope you'll have an open mind as well as hope everybody will have an open mind. and regardless what the whole thing about the game and gameplay, I don't, hold hard feelings about that with
just had
with,
this discussion
with anybody there.
with people in the chat privately on the far side. I just feel it's kind of circular at this point. Some people agree with something, others don't. So that's just
right
where that comment was coming from on my side.
Okay, cool. Well, got it. And makes sense. And so I'm happy to move forward from that. But then also on a related note, I think that there's a good resolution for it. And it kind of is related to what you just suggested with the prize for raps too. And so, yeah, one of the reasons, and just to briefly go into it, one of the reasons why I was surprised why people were thinking it was just a governance tool is because these games that we're playing, like they can be for anything. Like I'm working on making games for dancing and yoga and for singing and rapping and stuff like that. And a couple of weeks ago, we had for Eden Fractal Anniversary, we had Fractal DJ. It was inspired by Perry, and we played music and we ranked music. And like it's a fun way for people to come together and rank each other, like having a lot of game shows. But now with the power of EOS and Antelope and blockchain, anybody can do it and also be rewarded and respected for doing so. So like I think it's a really powerful game, really powerful primitive. It doesn't just have to be for governance, and it could be for stuff like that, like for who can show the best rap or Pomelo pitches.
Let me jump in here real quick. It's a great example. A game show would not qualify for the GameFi pool, right? Even though it can be qualified in a game in some way, it's not a blockchain game. It's not a tool that blockchain game devs could use. So a game show would not qualify for the GameFi pool, in my opinion. Anyways.
Okay, well, I suppose that would matter if the game show is using the blockchain, in which case we are. So I host the game shows every week, and we use the EOS blockchain. It wouldn't be possible without EOS or some blockchain.
Just using the blockchain to distribute prizes of that game show or to record results, I don't think would qualify it as GameFi anyways.
Okay, well, yeah, I just said we don't have to get into the details. To me, it seems like just as much of a game as any other game like Upland or Alien World or any of the major games on there. But we can discuss that more in detail later. But as you were saying, like you don't want to discuss all the details because we can go back and forth. People have different things that they agree with or don't agree with. For one thing, as I mentioned, whether you call it a game or GameFi or whatever, things like Fractal DJ or like a freestyle competition, like that can attract more people to Pomelo in general. Like imagine if, in addition to the Pomelo pitch sessions that we have here, where people have 30 seconds, you do an awesome job hosting it. Stefan, we also had it where people were encouraged to make funny TikToks or dancing Pomelo pitches or singing or rapping or whatever. And then that could also be like a more viral way to promote it as well.
Regardless of how this is structured, that would qualify as content, media content production, in my opinion, not GameFi.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but as I'm saying though, we have different things with that, sure. But I'm just saying, just as a side note, call Eden Creators Grant not GameFi, and call Eden Fractal Tools not games or whatever if you want. But just aside from that, I'm saying as a helpful tool moving forward to help grow Pomelo and help grow EOS, I think that whatever you call it, like these are helpful tools or games, whatever you call it, that can really help Pomelo in both attracting more people, making like more fun experiences, making video content that promotes EOS and Pomelo and Publicas in general. So I offered before, I'm happy to speak with you and speak with people from the Pomelo team afterwards or wherever. And I'd also be curious too if other members of the Pomelo team have thoughts here. If we don't want to go too long, I'd be curious to hear thoughts about it just in general, because I think it really helped. And one of the reasons why I was late is because I was working on a manual spreadsheet with another member of Eden Fractal named Noam. He's helping me assess the scores in the spreadsheet for the Signals game that we're playing. We're calling a Signals game where people rank each other's speeches. That's what we did. We ranked the most fun and most entertaining Pomelo grants today, or just like public goods pitches and stuff like that. And it's a way using EOS that we're able to put communities in charge and give and empower communities to everybody can participate and share their grants and do it in fun ways. And then people can also reward it where you don't have all that discussion about is it a game? Is it not a game? Is it for Telos? Is it not for Telos? And all that stuff. You still have that, but it's not just like one group who has to make all the decisions, but more people can. Obviously, one person can, or one group can if they want, but it gives the option to empower the community to make those decisions if they want and do it with a democratic process or a fun process that enables everybody, in addition to like incentivizing fun experience like dancing or rapping or freestyling or whatever. And then to that point too, I think 3 weeks ago when we had the Eden Fractal Anniversary, I mentioned that I was looking into the Firehost tools and the Substreams tools from the Pinax team, and I really appreciated hearing from Matthew and Denis and everybody discussing that over the past couple weeks. So thanks so much for the extra information. And yeah, that would solve a major issue where I was late today because I'm working on like manually doing it in a Google spreadsheet. And I know Martin had reached out, said that we should have a conversation. And also Noam, who I've been working with, also mentioned that today too. So it'd be great to schedule at some point. And then I think that could be a really great win-win situation where we could use these tools or games or whatever you want to call them to help promote Pomelo, to help promote EOS, help promote public goods, get much more mainstream adoption, help like millions of people see and understand the benefits of these, and at the same time reduce a lot of the friction and misunderstanding and so forth from just having like one team having all the responsibility. Because I imagine that the Pomelo team is like, you guys are working hard and you have a lot of incoming requests and incoming stuff to deal with and stuff like that. So I feel like it could be a win-win. I'm happy to discuss it more in detail. We can leave the whole game thing behind at some point. I'd like to discuss it more because I do think that it really does make sense for it to be classified GameFi. And I did, by the way, share some questions to Andrew and Denny that I haven't heard a response to, but I'd love to hear that at some point. But not to go on that too much, I just want to say I think that there could be an awesome opportunity to combine what we're doing with even practical social games or tools, whatever you want to call them, with what Pinax is doing with Firehose and Substreams, and help out the whole community and help out everybody in general by doing so. And I'd be happy to talk about that. And now, if you want to share thoughts or schedule another meeting or text or whatever, but I just want to put that out there as a potential really helpful resolution to what we've been discussing today.
I encourage to read the tweet of Yves Larose that has made a great tweet, ribbon tweet I have put into the chat here. Here's why GameFi will help drive mass adoption. And by the way, this tweet was in conjunction with the Medium article that is clickable when you are in pomelo.io and you click the different matching pool. You arrive on a Medium article explaining how you qualifies to be into GameFi, how you qualifies to be into everything EOS and EOS EVM. So that's already explained the criteria and all. And by this tweet of Yves, I think that's close the loop. What it is GameFi, what it is exactly GameFi. So I think that makes sense to read that also.
Okay, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, Patrick. As I was saying, I'm not discuss what GameFi is, although I also did share, if you scroll up in the message a little bit, a place where I quoted tweet, Yves, and I wrote an article about GameFi.
I put again here how they see GameFi, and you can compare with you how you see GameFi, what does it mean for you, and then maybe then you can arrive to let's say a middle ground, or maybe something more the triangle of happiness, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, I love this keyword. Hey guys. Can you guys hear me? It's Martin. I heard my name a couple of times, and I'm actually at an event right now, so I tried to find a quiet place. I didn't hear the previous discussion, so I don't know exactly the context, but from what I can tell, it's an ongoing discussion. I wouldn't say we have settled this today. Pomelo is a work in progress, as all decentralized projects are. And regarding, the matching pools, I would say, like, you need to bring a community in order to get like a matching pool going for it. You need to, if you want to have funding for, let's say, dancing and music and culture, we need to organize these communities, and these communities need to happen on the EOS network. Everything that I see from ENF, they are working hard on getting these communities and forming these communities, and I want to congratulate them on this, and also everybody that donated so far. It was been a great season, but yeah, again, I didn't know I will re-listen to the conversation earlier, and feel free to reach out to me if you want to go into details. I hope everybody joins in season 7, and yeah, that's it. It's kind of late here, and I would like to go back to the dance floor if that's possible.
You are released, Martin. Thanks for jumping in, and thanks for listening on one ear while drinking beer with your other hand. And yeah, have fun. Share some pictures.
Martin being out dancing makes me question all my decisions that led me to this point. Right?
We need pictures, Martin.
Seriously, tease us. What
do the bars look like in Germany on a Wednesday night?
Oh, very cool.
Oh, this is actually not a bar. We're doing this outdoor, and it's a sponsored bike by the city, actually. So we're getting the spot from the city, and yeah, I'm hopefully, like, I'm not sure if you guys saw the pre-parties that I did for the fireside chats. So when I was doing these, I'm planning to bring these events kind of into the sound bike events. I'm working with the city here. I just relocated to Germany like a couple of months ago. And yeah, I'm trying to the city to think about decentralization, parts of the local government, and showing them the little efforts that we're making in Web3, because I think that's the most tangible that we can talk about. You know, it needs to be happening in the real world. Everything we do here in a little circle is really, you know, not much if it doesn't work in the real world. So that's my mission.
Martin, I see lions on the top of a tent or tigers.
Yeah, these lines are if anybody has a song request. So there's no request parties, you know, they bite your head off basically.
Okay, I have a request. Make a lion song if you can. Yeah.
Consider your head bitten off.
Voila.
All right, thank you for sharing those pictures. I like it.
I hope we can all agree that the incoming amount of money from institutions into digital securities, digital assets, is a magnitudes more than what GameFi is doing right now. I mean, it's not even close. We're talking about the kind of money that BlackRock and other companies are poised to start dropping into crypto. At the core of that, there will be governance. That's what's really going on. That's really why we're creating these games, because it is in play, it is in games that new technology and innovations occur. Atari was the precursor to all of the games that we saw in the 80s. Atari in the 70s was the precursor to the games we saw in the 80s and 90s, which is the great-great-grandfather of everything that's happening here on this chain with regard to GameFi. So we shouldn't dismiss governance as something as not important. It will become the most important thing. And I hope that this community recognizes that the play that we're having has a real impact. And if we're lucky, and if we cultivate it, we can actually make a difference. Even if it means tolerating Patrick and all of his craziness, which I do regularly, and I accept that.
Yeah, baby, yeah. Accept you, Perry. We accept you. You are a good, crazy man, but we accept you. Yeah. You are more and more crazy. That's the beauty, by the way.
Oh, you don't have the half of it yet.
No, you are becoming a master, I will say. No one can follow you. You are unbeatable.
All right, so I think that's a nice speech, Perry, to leave this on for today. So we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you for the great discussion, sharing your thoughts, opinions, etc. That's how we're going to make Pomelo better. I enjoyed the discussion, even if I've had this discussion before. Happy to have it again in the future when needed. And so until next week, hope everyone has a good week. And yeah, we'll see you again next week. 1, 2, 3.
2, 3.
Let's
go.
Eos!
Yeah, baby.